Welcome to Horror Movies with Friends. I'm your host, Andy Green, aka Wolfmandy Screame, at least for, oh man, if I can survive another 13 days of this. And I am, because we have 31 movies, 31 friends, 31 drink pairings. You know the drill. And I just wanted to jump right in with my special guest and a screamed guest and friend, Monica Andrade. Please, let me see, filmmaker, artist, activist, friend of a friend, more or less. And I'm hoping by the end of this, we can be friends officially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
And Monica, what movie did we, I mean, it's both of our faults, but it's mostly my fault. What movie did we watch?
We watched The Sweet Blood of Jesus, directed by Spike Lee, remake of Ganja and Hess.
It was made in 2014. It's available to stream on Showtime if you want to, and same with Ganja and Hess. And Ganja and Hess is also available, I think, on Canopy. And yeah, The Sweet Blood of Jesus, a Spike Lee joint. And I mean, I won't survive this conversation without a little something extra with some coffee. So Monica, would you like some coffee?
Yes, I would love to.
Let's do it. I know you already have yours ready. I'm going to pour it for this sweet Zoom camera here. Let's get this going. And this is actually silence for this. It's the most exciting part of every day.
Yes.
So, and that was I feel like more pleasurable than anything I saw in The Sweet Blood of Jesus, but I'll try and be nicer than this. But cheers.
Cheers.
This is, clink the screen here. Feel free to dive in. I'm going to introduce it. This is Silverback Coffee. It's based in LA, but has roots in Rwanda. And the family are Tutsi immigrants, and they are just dedicated. The whole company is dedicated to not only helping silverback gorillas, but Rwandan farmers in the Rwandan country from rebuilding from genocide. So I thought that was, obviously a worthwhile goal, and I'm excited to try their coffee. And this is a medium roast. What do we think?
I like it.
Yeah. It's I would say, it's a strong one, even for the medium. The dark would have been pretty intense, I think.
Yeah.
To me, it tastes like an elevated, really good version of a diner cup of coffee.
Yeah, I like it. I like my coffee strong too. So, so I like that it's not too, too light. And it's pretty smooth.
Oh yeah, it is smooth. I don't know if I get a lot of flavors beyond just sort of in my head, the coffee flavor, but I think there's some dark fruit in there hidden that maybe,
is there?
Maybe we'll unlock it by the end, but maybe I'm just saying that to sound mildly intelligent. And that's what I strive for, mild intelligence. What Spike Lee joint does this coffee remind you of?
None of the ones that I've seen, to be honest. And part of the reason I picked this is because I've only seen a handful of his movies, and I wanted to delve further into his catalog. And so that it just stuck out to me. I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to watch another Spike Lee joint. Of course. But yeah, it didn't remind me of any of the films that I've seen of his.
I agree. Other than I knew it was him because of, it says it, but also it opens with a dance montage of on the New York Knicks logo. And then there was just he's wearing the Knicks hat as aggressively as he can. We're just going to jump into this movie. The previous episode we talked about Ganja and Hess, so hopefully we'll know, but I guess short story, it's a vampire story, love story about Dr. Hess Green and Ganja. The elephant in the room is that you have not seen Ganja and Hess, and I have, and I think that will have changed our viewing experience like hugely. Because I've been not shy about my feelings, so I want to let you, like, maybe you love this movie, and I hope you do. I hope you do. I hope you really loved it. So what did you think?
I don't think that I hated it as much as you did. I think it was, and maybe because I haven't seen the original, so I don't have that, that reference to compare it to. But I found it a little boring and a little slow paced. And I will say, like some of the scenes, it wasn't because I knew it was like a vampire movie, so it wasn't the vampire movie that I was expecting. Like I was expecting your typical, fangs and that kind of thing. And the violence in the movie was just like oh, okay. It kind of took me by surprise. And so that was like one aspect of it. And then the slow pacedness of it was kind of the other aspect that kind of, I kept getting restless with it and kept having to take breaks to do other things. Just to get myself back into the movie. And also some of the plot points were a little unclear to me. Like I'll just jump kind of like towards the end.
Oh, please. Yeah.
When him and Ganja get married and on their wedding night, I didn't realize that he stabbed her with that same Ashanti dagger at first.
1,000 years before the Egyptians performed surgery, Ashanti surgeons came up with the idea of transfusing blood from the strong and healthy to the queen.
Unless I missed it, but it's just a shot of her on the bed with blood, and I was like, whose blood is that? So I was a little confused. There were like moments like that where I was a little confused about what was going on and didn't fully follow. And then I think I got confused towards the end when he chooses death, because I thought if they had transformed into these immortal beings, how was he able to die? And so I'm guessing it had something to do with him going to the church, obviously.
Well, the church, and it sort of just seems like he starves himself, like because he just doesn't have blood, and he kind of looked a little bit pale. But yeah, I don't think that's just a very strong thing, because especially if like they're so in love, like the movie sort of portrays in some way, like it takes the love story a little bit more seriously, I think, than the original movie. And I didn't buy it so much. But then it's like, if they are in love, at least that's one benefit of eternal life, is that you can do this. You're not alone anymore. But he's sort of like, I'm so tired, I'm done with this. And it's like, I'm tired of the movie, but like, it's not, he's only been a vampire for like a couple weeks, like it doesn't, not that long. And I guess he's, it feels like there's more, like, yes, he's killing, like there's that scene where he goes and revisits the woman who has now, like, basically it looks like a dead baby that she's holding at the,
right.
On the bench. And like, that shows him like what he's doing. And I guess he's just like, I can't kill anymore. And I can't do this. And so that, to me, I buy that. But I don't know, like you said, it's sort of unclear either A, how he does it, but also, I don't know, the why of it. There's not a lot of communication in this for like their love. All the good things, the things that you like, you mentioned, like, or to me, I like that it's different than most vampire movies, and that it doesn't, that stuff is all from the original. And I feel like there's even lines that are the same. So many lines that are the same. But it felt like it was just stilted to me. Having seen the original, it was almost like a remix that didn't work. Because I think that, like, the scene in the tree with his assistant that first night where he's drunk and he has a noose around his neck, that is very similar to a scene in the original. And it just, I guess, Bill Gunn's original just is sort of, it's much more experimental and artsy, and this one, and weird. This one's weird, but it feels like, and I'm all for weird. I love bad movies, but this doesn't, to me, it just sort of, something's off about it. It just feels like a pale imitation. Or what is he, do you know what he's trying to say in this movie?
I don't. And I wish that I had seen the original to kind of like, because I just, part of me feels like, okay, he's remaking the original. So he's probably trying to, reconvey what the original conveyed. since I don't have that reference point, it's hard for me to wrap my head around, what that message really was starting out.
Right. And and I mean, whether it's a remake or not, it needs to be able to stand on its own, right? Like you need to be able to sit there and be like, oh, he's saying something profound here.
Which I feel like most of his other movies do that. They do say something profound. And this one, it was a little harder to wrap my head around what was going on. And again, like some of that was just like things being a little unclear in the plot, and me being a little bored and distracted as well.
Yeah, no, I had to take 2 different viewings. I had to finish it this morning because I was just sort of like, no, this isn't worth staying up for tonight. And when I messaged you in hopes that you had like quit and we could somehow watch a new movie. So, but no, this is good because I mean, I think this is the first movie that I haven't really enjoyed on this journey. And I've felt really bad about, oh no, like I want to be besties with Monica. And then now I'm just going to sound like this negative person, which is that's not normally who I am. But I guess, and it's also like, it feels like I'm in danger of mansplaining the last movie or something. Cause it's like, well, to put in some perspective, but
no, I do want to hear your thoughts on how the two compare for sure.
First one is, I mean, while it's a very out there movie and I don't think it's even supposed to be figured out. And there's even lines in it that it's like to try and find meaning in things is almost aside from the point, but it's definitely about addiction. Both of these movies go into addiction, but I think it's much better done in Ganja and Hess. This one, they talk at the beginning that it's a blood culture.
The United States of America is the most violent country in the world.
And then they, of course, then become addicted to blood themselves. And I wonder if it's sort of the idea that, well, so, and Dr. Green is also a very wealthy man. His family they said that the first Black family to own a firm on Wall Street. And so there's like, those things feel like, okay, that's the theme. And to me, it's like, okay, as a white man trying to figure this out also is like a recipe for disaster. So this is great. But my thought is that someone also says addicted to society. We're addicted to society.
Change is impossible because we're addicted to our society, especially the upper middle class.
Dr. Green has been addicted to a society, has fallen in, having money. Sure, he's very successful, but then it's still a blood culture, and he is feeding on, I think that's all people of color in this movie, and it's sort of this exploitive cycle, and he is in a way now no different or better than, the man, the government, the society that he is rebelling against or has been persecuted for, and to me that's really powerful and really cool. But I think I'm doing that for the movie. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
No, I can see that as well. And I picked up on the fact that he was going into like the inner city, and he was like, his first victim, he targets a sex worker. I don't know that he knew she was a sex worker starting out, but that's kind of how it comes to be, is that she is. And then he goes to the park and he targets like a single mom, and so he's like targeting very vulnerable women.
Yes.
Which, was a little hard to watch. But and then it's his friend from the past, or his ex, and he has Ganja seduce her. And so I know like it's a common theme in vampire movies to use sex as like kind of the way to seduce their victims and stuff, so that I could see the parallels there. But yeah, I did pick up on that as well, that he was like exploiting people of his own community, or rather, vulnerable members of the community. And so I picked up on that, and I was wondering if it was the same in Ganja and Hess.
It kind of, but not. It doesn't feel like, I feel much more for Hess in that movie, and this one, like he turns and just isn't. I don't know if it's the actor. I just don't feel this guy at all. And yeah, it felt way more predatory. And the other one, it sort of felt like he was figuring out what his life was. Not that it's okay that they end up dead ever, but it's just sort of like those characters have more agency and more life in them than sort of this woman that's gonna actually like be down with someone that says his name is Dick Long, and it's just like, it's so, and then I wrote down like when the mom, and yes, she's so desperate and vulnerable, and that's why he targets her, but it's just like, this guy isn't charming.
They're the best in the business.
And it's just sort of working, and it's not like he has vampire powers in terms of like the glamour type thing, right?
Right. Yeah, I was wondering that too when he's on the bench and like he's talking to the single mom. I was watching with someone else and they were like, "Oh, is he playing like vampire mind tricks on her, or is she really just this vulnerable?" And I'm like, "No, I think he went to a specific place, a specific part of the city that he knew there would be vulnerable people there."
Yeah, I think so, and maybe also it's just the fact that they know he has money. They know.
Oh yeah.
He's from a different class immediately, and so literally they can't say no. It feels like there's no choice, and I think that is what class feels like, right? Or there's this just sort of huge gap, and he is taking part of it. I don't know if he ever knew that he was. I mean, he wasn't, I don't think, before being a vampire in the same way, but I don't know. Maybe he then sees himself, and that's why he has to end it.
Yeah.
But this is like 2 seconds after he marries a woman and turns her. So it's like, dude, you're a dick. Like,
yeah.
It's not V8.
I was confused by the fact that they kept coming back from the dead, or like kind of coming back to life. Because when it first happened, like when the first victim, the sex worker, and she comes back to life and she's like, she yells at him for killing her.
yes.
And then I was like, was that in his head? So I was confused. And then it kept happening. Then they both saw Tangier come back to life, the friend.
Yeah, Tangier. Yeah,
yeah.
That's where she was conceived. Oh man.
And when they were trying to bury her. So I was like, okay, so now they're both seeing her come back to life. But then what? So I was confused by like what the significance of that was, of them coming back to life. Are they undead now? Is it their ghost? Is like, what's going on?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, like I agree with your confusion. I see it. I understand it. Because
like, are they vampires now too? I don't understand.
Well, yeah. Well, how I see the movie is that Tangier is, we see the eyes, although do they ever have undead eyes? So maybe it's a slightly different thing. But like, because they weren't actually stabbed by the dagger, and the dagger is what made Hess, Dr. Green, a vampire, or whatever that is in this world. And I think you're right. While we don't see it, I think that's what he does with Ganja as well. But I think, yeah, the rules are unclear.
What are you?
I'm revisiting the coffee here to see if it has any answers. Well, there are no answers.
I think you're right, though. It just tastes like a good cup of coffee. I'm not picking up very many other flavors in it.
Yeah, it's sort of, I mean, maybe it's because it's on top of my Twin Peaks DVD set, but it sort of seems like what, Kyle MacLachlan is talking about. And like, this is a damn good, fine cup of coffee, and like sort of a very classic one. And I mean, the original is a classic movie. This one, it feels sort of misguided, I guess. What did you like? Are there any moments that you were like, yeah? No.
I found it like interesting how quickly he escalated into killing people, because he starts out by robbing the blood bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was like why he starts out with robbing the blood bank rather than immediately going into killing, and like what his motivation was for deciding to kill. If it was just like, okay, I can't rob a blood bank every time, or that was like kind of a question for me. It was like, oh, what was his motivation from doing it the nonviolent way to now switching to violence? And I don't know if in Ganja and Hess there was that as well, that where he like robs a blood bank to begin with, or
There's kind of the exact same scene where he like starts like a little bomb type thing and gets a distraction and steals blood. Ganja and Hess, and I think it goes to the music. The music is a mess in this movie. I think it sort of like doesn't make sense to me, or like it's sort of, some of it feels like soap opera music, or like it's just not thematic. I don't know. It's all over the place. Whereas Ganja and Hess has this thing where whenever Hess and Ganja have a thirst or a hunger for blood, tribal music is playing. The Murthian tribe, it's not Ashanti in that movie, like you even have dreams of the past, and that to me is evoking something, and it's like, oh, it's that hunger, and it is overpowering, and that is why he has to kill, you know. And this one, I don't think we really see that. There's this, he has like sort of he like has this like shaking thing a couple times, like, but it's sort of only when he's about to have sex with Ganja, and you know, and then he has to run away. But like, I think that's what that is, like, oh, I need to feed, and it's sort of like he just can't control himself. But I don't think it's done in it does, like, it feels like if I'm watching this movie, it's like, stick to the blood bank, you know, like, or you can find another one, or you probably don't have to like start explosions to do that either, you know.
Right.
If he's so charming, he could probably, you know, charm that woman or man or whoever it is. It's frustrating because I really want to like this movie. I really, and like you, I have some blind spots in Spike Lee filmography. So I thought this was an opportunity. I didn't even know that he had made sort of a horror movie. And well, I don't know if he did, having seen it. Actually, we haven't talked about Rami Malek. And that's, he, I think, is the only one who sort of sees what kind of movie he's in, I feel like. And he's having some fun. He's this, so he plays the servant. What'd you think of him?
It was so wild to see him in this, you know, knowing his other roles and stuff. And his character made me laugh quite a bit, especially the wedding scene when they're getting married, and like his face, and you could see how like upset and annoyed he is and everything. He was a breath of fresh air in the movie for sure.
His face during that wedding scene was my favorite, and it was sort of, that was my face for this movie. I was just like, I'm him. I'm so mad. He knew, he was like, oh man, I could be doing so much more. Like when he's carrying the huge umbrella on the beach after their thing, like that was me trying to like will this movie to come up with something to say to impress Monica. But oh well, we got good coffee out of it.
It's so funny you say that, because when I finished watching the movie, I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna have very intelligible things to say about this movie. Like I don't think I disliked it as much as you did, but I just also was very neutral to it. It was just like, okay, that was a movie.
Was it? No. Yeah, well, honestly, that's like, isn't that worse than being sort of like being neutral about a movie is almost like the worst possible outcome, because I would much rather, like, at least like, and I know I'm not, this isn't like this, I've been there too, where I'm just like, yeah, I got nothing, like, and it's sort of like, I would rather be upset by a movie, you know, because at least it like, yeah, exactly. So that, and that, what's interesting to me is that it didn't really work for either of us, and we both came from very different points of view. And so, yeah, I think we'll just have to watch a different movie together sometime. You know, did I earn a second movie? That's my main.
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Monica, I mean, unless you have anything more exciting to say, I don't know what we did, but we did it. And we did it well, thanks to Silverback Coffee.
Oh yes. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's the least I can do. Yeah, thanks for joining this journey. And you know, some journeys have I don't know, this felt like the equivalent of like tripping on a rock or something on my climb up the hill. But we get back up, and thank you for helping me up the hill. And I will help you up the whatever hill you have going forward. Yeah, I don't know. I just was sort of excited to talk to you, and I'm glad we did this. So thank you so much.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for having me.
Of course, Monica. Why I'm doing this whole journey in part is to honor my friend Chris. We bonded over horror movies. The last thing he ever gave me was a year-long subscription to Shudder, and I would love to know what he would have thought about this movie and all of these movies. And so that's sort of what is keeping me honest and keeping me doing this, and reminding me how important it is to talk to people, to make connections. And so I'm doing this in conjunction with the fundraiser for the Trevor Project. There's more information below. The Trevor Project is an amazing nonprofit organization dedicated to helping LGBTQ plus youth. So if you have any spare change, anything, I know times are tough, please follow the link. It would mean a lot to me, and I think the world in general. And yeah, so let's see, what is tomorrow's film? That's a good question. In the meantime, I will see you at the next phase of the moon.
Okay.
Let's howl at the moon for the friends we miss, the friends we wish were here to see this.